on Anchor, Breaker, Spotify, Radio Public and Pocket Cast. This is Under Review from V Studios. Hello and welcome to Under Review. You're listening to Series 1, Episode 6. With me, your host, Vigo Bryant-Frost. The headlines this week. Most people in England are to be offered a flu vaccine to help tackle the NHS hospital crisis which could be caused this winter if we have a second wave of COVID-19. Also, new face covering rules come into force in England, so we now have to wear face coverings as mandatory in takeaway shops and banks, etc. Trump has also scrapped his party convention in a flare-up of the COVID-19 virus, or absolutely humongous flare-up of the COVID-19 virus, rather, in the US. Also, the Prime Minister, is to target junk food ads in Obesity Crackdown. So, that is your headlines. Now, let's get on with Under Review. First, we're going to talk about China in a live interview, which we recorded earlier in the week. Then after that, we're going to be discussing the obesity crackdown, which has been announced recently. You heard that in the headlines just now. And without further ado, let's get started with the show. Enjoy! Hello there, welcome to our interview. We're going to be talking about China and how we are influencing it recently. Okay, so the first question, should we be taking action to save Hong Kong residents who could be stuck under unfair laws, like providing British citizenship to those affected?
Well, we have to think first that these are not unfair in everyone's minds. Unfair is not a fact, it's a matter of opinion. So I agree some people are, in my opinion, have got unfair rules, and I think some of them should, but people who just want to run away from the law and have a good reason, and Hong Kong has a perfectly good reason to keep them there because they've done something, say treason. I'm not sure if that's really around anymore, but it's something we need to remember that some of this is just going to be overly hyped by these stars on the internet, and some of this is going to be real. We don't know which, so we need to check each individual cases, which I admit is going to take a while, but people who are going to take advantage of this to get away from the law, which, say, if they did the same thing back in our country, would be against the law, we should not be letting them through our borders. It's just a matter of opinion, really.
Yeah, well, I guess they have perfect reason, China. I guess we are kind of meddling in their affairs, but Hong Kong residents can come any time and leave the country, and, well, I guess it's quite controversial about what it is. So the second question, would you allow Huawei to build us a 5G network, or would you ban all Huawei devices even? I think we're already doing that, but would you?
No, not really. I think Huawei is a perfectly good company, and I actually applaud them. They're doing some very good work in this 5G sector, ignoring those who are just being a bit silly over how 5G caused COVID-19. In fact, it didn't. But I see no threats or anything bad in Huawei, although it is saying me from a point where I don't know that much. I don't know Huawei very well, but in my opinion, I have nothing against them, and nothing against any of the other 5G companies as well, Nokia, say. For all it matters, they could all work together. I'm not sure anyone's really considered that.
I mean, China might even own a share in Nokia anyway. So yeah, I think it's totally unfair that they're banning Huawei. Like, they've been banned from Google stuff, for example, in the US, because there's some belief that China are not doing things right and that they are meddling with our affairs.
As I say, it's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump's opinion is, I don't think it's totally right. Might be slightly biased, maybe. Anyway, the third question, do you agree with what the US is doing at all?
Well, personally, I don't think it's a particularly good idea. Because after all, don't we all want to get our economies back up and running? And if we get Huawei doing things in the US, providing more jobs, so it's hard. I think in one case, Huawei's doing a perfectly good job and might bring back some much needed jobs and money to the US. But on the other hand, you want US companies to flourish. And even though they are doing quite well for themselves, considered Microsoft, Apple and Google, they've gone through the roof at the moment. I think, well, to be honest with you, I really don't know.
Yeah, I think we might be taking this a bit too far. I mean, when China's economy overtook the US, that was probably quite a big blow for Donald Trump, but it doesn't mean you have to retaliate and try and shrink their economy back down again by imposing sanctions. But it's alright to try and grow your economy and not maybe invest in other people's economy, but having a negative effect on other people's economy is not the way to go, because after all, it isn't exactly a competition. Well, literally competition that you have to win. So, question 4. Do you agree with what China is doing?
I think in some cases, for instance, how they deal with some things like damaging public transport facilities and some trials, some of these things you'd expect to see back at home, back in England. You'd expect to see that because that's just generally what we do. I think the reason why people have been criticising China so much is because of let me find it. It's people. Well, this is new. It's new. And personally, I don't think why there's all the fuss about a tiny island off the coast of China. Well, not even off the coast of China. It's just a small chunk of China just stick out the side of it. I don't see why there's all this fuss. Why are you focusing all your energy, all your time on people who, yes, there might be things that are unfair there, but keep in mind that people, we're not perfect. We cannot make ourselves perfect. It is, in my mind, impossible. Why would you want to make yourself perfect? It makes you who you are. And if some people make mistakes, let them make mistakes. It's how they learn. And for all we know, if we hadn't interfered in this, and if we hadn't taken a stand on this, it could be a really good thing, it could be a really bad thing. It's just how you stand on the matter. It's opinion. It just boils down to that.
I think that it's their choice, it's China's choice, and they don't have to be perfect, they don't have to go by what we want them to do, they can make their own decisions. Yeah, it's kind of brings you back to basic concepts, like no one's perfect, and people can do what they want. Okay, 5th question, your suggestion. Why do you think China are thinking this way?
Well, China, they've got lots of people and they've had trouble in the past with too many people. For instance, well, they're a very, very big country, and they've, as you said earlier, they're overtaking Donald Trump's economy. So if they want to keep going in the positive direction, then surely they've got to enforce new rules, and people don't like new. One of the main reasons, in my opinion, that they've had it like this is because it's new, and most people will not like change. So, for instance, when people went into lockdown, some of them would have been delighted, absolutely ecstatic, because they get to work more efficiently, they haven't got the person standing at the back of the room nattering away that's annoying them. They can work by themselves. But others will find they can't socially interact with many people. So if you felt that way, do you embrace change, or do you not particularly like it, or does it depend on that change? That's what that's kind of the base root of a lot of problems in modern society. That's why people argue. That's why the media are they're so efficient. That's why people. That's why the law exists effectively. It's because of people in different opinions and not liking certain things while other people like it. These are quite complicated matters, bear in mind. So even I'm struggling at the moment to think up of things on the spot. But it just boils down to opinion and how you deal with things.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can control our own affairs and they can control their own affairs. Yeah, very good points. So, question number 6. If you were responding to this, what would you do?
If I was responding to this as the UK, I wouldn't be too concerned, but I would keep some room in my mind for those people who think it's unfair and are unfairly discriminated. Because this is going to be excellent for some people and absolutely horrible for others. So these pro-democracy activists, this is going to be terrible for them. This is going to be pretty much, in my opinion, spell the end for their how they do things. But for other people who are enjoying this world, it's a good thing. It just depends on how you see it. So for me, I would keep something in the back of my mind just in case something else comes along, or new statistics or something. But I would say, if people think they're unfairly discriminated and with a good reason, that being the judge of the UK judges, if it was to be protested against, they can come over to the UK as per normal. They would be offered a job here, help boost our economy. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you say win-win, I suppose maybe China don't like it, but it's definitely win-win for the people and the economy. But yeah, I think that's a perfectly good way to do it. Well, I don't think we should interfere too much, but we probably should. Yeah, because in that case, we shouldn't take it too far, and it could be taken to another level that we don't want to go to. But we should definitely give them, like, passports, for example, we're going to be doing, and citizenship.
We shouldn't ignore them completely. We just shouldn't put our full attention on them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good idea. We should definitely take notice of them, but not interfere directly with their affairs. And I don't think that's what we're trying to do by this. We're kind of trying to boost our economy, not shrink their economy. Exactly. Okay. I think we'll leave it there then.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to this interview. Exactly 12 minutes. Thank you for that, Oliver. Sorry for the clicking noise in the background. I don't know what that is, but anyway, sorry for that. So, after the trailer, which I'm about to play, we're going to be talking about the obesity crackdown and the whole crisis which had been accelerated, it's kind of accelerated the COVID-19 crisis in the United Kingdom. So, as I said, that will be after this. From V Studios. Now, lockdown, it's been hard for all of us. But when you say hard, if something is hard, you could also learn new things, do new things, get out and about and do more stuff which you've never done before, get out of your comfort zone. So, next week, as under review, Series 1 Episode 6A, a special episode, to be precise, the name is Lockdown Rethink. Now that sounds sassy. We are going to be talking about, with special guests, and by special guests I mean you, about how lockdown could have had positive implications for all of us. This is the first in a series of special episodes throughout the summer holidays. So do join us, and if you want to take part, just email underreviewcast@gmail.com. Just to clarify, that is actually this week, I think. I was reading the trailer from last week. Anyway, as promised, let's move on to part 2, the review. Hello and welcome to the review on Under Review Series 1 Episode 6. This week we are going to be discussing the obesity crackdown. So, a leaked paper written but not published by the government suggests that action is yet to be taken to tackle the nationwide obesity crisis. Now, this obesity crisis has been going for the last few decades, and the UK has kind of been known for having quite high levels of obesity, which is obviously not very good for our COVID-19 death rate, as you can probably imagine. So, the COVID crisis, as I said, has reminded us about the huge enemy of obesity. And not just obesity, even if you're overweight, you still have a greater chance of being more vulnerable to COVID-19, especially if you're in the older age group, that so many millions of us have fallen victim to. If you want some stats there, it's actually 29% of adults are obese, so that's about 3 in 10. And in 2018, 1 in 10 children were obese, which is mad. And if you want even more mad, along with 1 in 5 children aged 10 to 11 are also obese. That's 1 in 5 children. That is 20% of children. So, that is pretty bad. So, we need to do something about it. Recently, the Prime Minister has announced there will be some new measures to help tackle obesity. These include a ban on junk food adverts before 9 o'clock every day, that's 9 p.m, including sugary drinks and snacks, and the kind of things that have been hit by the sugar tax in I think it was 2018 maybe. So I personally think the sugar tax should be raised, actually, to put more pressure and really lobby the drinks companies and snacks companies like Coca-Cola to take away more sugar from their drinks. Although, having said that, I think they've ruined Ribena by taking away the sugar, because now it's just sweetener and it's ruined it, as well as San Pellegrino. But still, if it's going to be good for our obesity crisis, I don't really mind. I can go along drinking another drink which has better sweeteners in it. If they are going to do sweeteners, personally, can I just remind them, not aspartame, please? It gives you a horrible aftertaste. Anyway, it's good to bear in mind that Boris Johnson did suffer from COVID-19, and I think he was also slightly overweight, and not sure about being obese, but he definitely was overweight himself. So he was obese and overweight himself. So he has perfect reason. I really feel sorry for him for being in intensive care for COVID-19 and having to go to Checkers for a week or so. So he has perfect reason to set up these measures, and indeed he should. There are countless people like him who have suffered under conditions of being obese and overweight. So yeah, he was in intensive care for himself. I wrote intensive care there in my agenda. Himself for COVID-19. He did take into account what could have caused his bad suffering from the virus. Ding! It's obesity, or overweightity, whatever you want to call it. So he thought, we must need to do something to tackle the obesity crisis. To avoid obesity, we need a healthy, balanced diet and not to eat too much fat. Fat is the big killer. And as you may already know, I think either fat turns into sugar or sugar turns into fat, some way around. And it all builds up and it goes into your gut, and I don't know what happens, but it's very bad for you. So we also need lots of exercise. Exercise is basically burning off all your calories and basically that's what it does. So obesity also has a high chance of causing type 2 diabetes, which is a disease caused by having too much blood sugar. And as we know, we might not be able to make, I think diabetes causes a condition which I'm not an expert on this, but it definitely is bad for it's bad for your blood sugar levels. It doesn't limit your blood sugar so much. And yeah, something like that. So I think we'll leave it about there. So next week we are going to be talking about this, and we'd love to hear your opinions on what we have done. So let's get some questions. What do you think we should do to help tackle the obesity crisis? Also, did you agree with Boris Johnson's pledge to ban sugary food adverts before 9 o'clock each evening? And I think we'll leave it there. Actually, it's quite. I think everyone agrees that this needs to happen at some point. I don't think there's much controversy about it needing to happen unless, well, yeah. I think this needs to happen. There's not really many questions you can ask about it, but do send in what you think about this. You have to answer the questions. You can just say what you think in general, and in a moment I'll tell you how to do just that. Do submit your opinions on what we've discussed in this episode. So the second part of the episode was the stuff under review, which we're going to be discussing next week. And we'll be discussing it in the second part of next week. So it's very easy to submit your opinions, and we would love to hear what you think. So firstly, if you want to do it the easier way, kind of, go to anchor.fm/underreviewcast. That's Anchor spelled ANCHOR, and under review is spelled UNDERREVIEW. And cast is obviously CAST, in case you need to brush up on your spelling. And also, if you would like to write instead of speak like a senior MP, you may email underreviewcast@gmail.com. That's underreviewcast@gmail.com. Just to round up, repeat those credentials: anchor.fm/underreviewcast and underreviewcast@gmail.com. Thank you. And thank you for listening to Under Review Series 1, Episode 6. Make sure you listen to that bit about submitting your opinions, as we would love to hear what you think about the obesity crackdown, which we will discuss next week in part 1, as you heard in that snippet. Thank you for listening. As I said, please subscribe/like/follow wherever you get your podcasts, like Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, whatever. Do just that. And thank you, Oliver, for the interview earlier this episode. And I will see you next week, or actually later this week, probably at the weekend, for our special episode, which I'm going to record sometime soon, I think. So thank you very much for listening, and I was your host, Rigo Bryant Frost. You just listened to Under Review, Series 1, Episode 6. We've reached a milestone now, haven't we? Number 6. Thank you for listening, as I said. Bye-bye.